Jeffrey Dobson really messed up this time, trying to fit in with what he thought were the cool guys. He had accepted the dare shoplift something. It is more what he tried to steal. He knew now shoplifting is a crime. Too late, the truth had come. He got caught. Explaining why there was a bottle of frosted crimson red nail polish in his jeans pocket. Anything that was small could have fit a pack of gum would have been a better choice. What was he thinking? Wasn't a boy in the makeup aisle a sign that something was not right? Mrs. Edwards was a nice woman. She ran the store, and he did like her, which made what he did so much worse. She stood in front of him blocking the door and said, "I know you took it. Shoplifting is a crime. You did see the sign, shoplift and go to jail. Profit is not that much and stealing makes the prices go up. You seemed like a nice boy. Why would you do this to me?" Jeffrey felt so bad. Fitting in was not worth this in jail. Stupid, dumb, I am an idiot. It was a dare and I just wanted to fit in with the guys. I'm sorry. A dare? There is a 5-story building across the street. If they dared you to jump off it, you would not do it, would you? Some things are just wrong, was her response. Jeffrey, hand it over. He reached into the pocket of his jeans and pulled out the nail polish. They never let me hang out with them, so I did not think when they asked me. I knew it was wrong. She thought he must have wanted to be one of the guys and they set him up. All the kids know, I always see what they are up to. 6 kids and 4 adults went to jail in the past 2 years. She informed him, instead of calling the police and giving you a record, I will call your parents and see what type of punishment will fit your crime. Jeffrey was at first glad of no police involvement. However, trying to explain why the nail polish, he did not have an answer for that. He did have time to think while they were waiting. His father was at work. Mother was the one that would talk it over with Mrs. Edwards. After they had been talking for what seemed like a long time, Mother came over. Before I tell you what your punishment will be, explain why the nail polish, and not just a dare. The dare was to steal something. You chose the nail polish. Jeffrey really did not know, other than it was pretty, he went with that. It looked pretty. Mother laughed. Will it be that? If you made it out of the store, what do you think would have been said by those guys when they saw what you stole? Jeffrey knew the answer. They would have thought I was a sissy. Nail polish in that color is worn by girls. The 2 women looked at each other, nodded in agreement. Mrs. Edwards informed him of the punishment. You will work at my store after school and on the weekends. I will pay you, however, 15% of your pay will go towards a fine for the theft. Jeffrey was glad until he found out how long it was, 2 months till summer break and all summer. It had been decided that he would start in the morning. Saturday would be the first day working for Mrs. Edwards at her store. It was a small department-style store, clothes and shoes, small household appliances, soda, chips and candy in the aisle where he made the biggest mistake in his life. Still, it was much better than the fine and jail. Nothing was said on the way home. That would change when they got home. Mother was holding up the bottle of nail polish that he had stolen. It is very pretty. I paid for it and now you pay. Sit down at the kitchen table after you wash your hands. He did as told, wondering how he was going to pay. The answer came when Mother held his right hand, saying, Your nails are in bad shape. I'll need to file and give them a better shape before I use the pretty color you wanted. Jeffrey knew now, trying to mount an argument in protest. I wasn't going to use it. Well, too late, opening the nail polish. I hope you learn from this. In less than 5 minutes, he had both hands done with the frosted crimson red. His mind was torn. Boys don't wear this type of nail color, yet they did look nice. No, I can't have painted fingernails like a girl. Mother, this makes my hands look like a girl's hands. Everybody will think I am a sissy. Mother just said, should have thought about that before you stole it. It will make you think about what you did every time you look at them. His world was turned upside down when his father got home saying, "No son of mine would." Wait, he isn't. "Sorry, this is the last straw. I'm out of here. This is never going to work." After quickly packing a bag, the only father he had ever known went out the door. Jeffrey was confused. "He is not my father. Who is my father?" Mother did not look as upset as he thought she should, thought he was until you needed that bone marrow, and he did not match, and he got a DNA test. "I was seeing both men and did not know I was pregnant, and your biological father died before I knew, so I hoped that he was your father. I was wrong. We have been drifting apart for the last year." Jeffrey now knew, somehow, he changed the way he looked at me, as if I was not there. "Does that make me a bastard?" Mother replied, "No, you did have a father. He unfortunately died before you were born. I married George hoping he was your father." Jeffrey asked, "I have his last name. What if he wants to be removed as the father on my birth certificate?" Mother smiled. "Already taken care of that. To avoid a court battle, I let him be removed as the father, if he would allow you to keep the last name." Jeffrey sighed. "Too bad. I thought, maybe, this is hard for me. If he had wanted me to have his last name removed, then changing the first would not be unheard of." Mother looked at Jeffrey. "Do you want to change your first name? To what and why would you want to?" Jeffrey was almost in tears as the words were hard for him to say what he had felt for so long. I am not like the other guys, never have been able to be like them." Taking a breath, wiping away the tears. "I've gone to bed wishing I would wake up as a girl. It's not fair trying to be something when I know it is not right for me. I should have been born a girl." Mother was at first shocked at what Jeffrey just told her, then thinking she smiled at him. "Do you really want to be my daughter and not my son?" Jeffrey looked at his mother. "Please don't be mad, did not think I had the choice. However, if I do, then your daughter." She was glad that she was sitting, as that would have made her weak in the knees. Gathering her thoughts, she spoke with as much love as she could. "I could never be mad at you for telling me such a hard truth that will not change the love I have for you. If you really want to be a girl, then there are steps that must be followed. However, I need to look into the matter." "Yes or no? The question is, do you want to be a girl?" "Yes." The only word that Jeffrey could say. The tears this time were from being so happy for the love of a mother that cared enough to give him the choice. "Okay, then the first thing that I believe is Jeffrey is not a girl's name." Smiling, she asked, "Thought of a name?" "Julie Louise, I like that name." Mother stood, opened her arms saying, "Let me give my daughter a hug. Louise is my name." Louise did not care her husband had just left. He would come back for the rest of his stuff, but for now he was gone. She looked at her child in her arms. She had what mattered most. "Let me see if he responds to Julie. Julie, yes, I am talking to you. Unless you are playing a joke on me, you need to answer to your new name. You can play video games in your room. I'll call you when it is time for dinner." She picked up her cell phone, quick and to the point, and dialed George's cell phone. "You're right, it is over. Come by Sunday afternoon to get whatever you want. You have your truck and I have my car, and no problem with you taking everything in that man cave. I will have the house listed, and when it sells 50-50 split." Agreed. George replied, "Sure, sounds good to me. You sound too happy about it though." Louise smiled and said, "He is not your son, she is my daughter. Bye." She laughed, knowing that would drive him mad. Next, she called Mrs. Edwards. "Louise Dobson, I could use some help with my new daughter, or soon-to-be, don't really know, I know why the choice was nail polish, a cry for help. Jeffrey wants to be Julie Louise." Mrs. Edwards could not help but laugh just a bit. Sorry, should not have laughed, but it does make sense, so how can I help? Louise did not know how to. Frankly, I have not got a clue as to what or how to help, my child. Mrs. Edwards understood all about it. 3 years ago my nephew told his mother the same thing. Now I have a niece, so sometimes boys or girls as the case seems to be with your child. It is called gender dysphoria, and once you take Julie to see a therapist and the condition is confirmed, the next thing is an endocrinologist for male blockers and estrogen to bring about the physical changes to a more feminine body, and that is as far as this state will allow no surgery till 18. That is a lot more information than I had, thank you. Louise had more to ask about. So, Jeffrey should start to be Julie before seeing the therapist. That's a problem. No clothes, mine would be too big. Mrs. Edwards laughed. Julie will just have to work longer to pay for her clothes, shoes and makeup, still young. However, other girls her age are starting to wear makeup. Let her know that I am aware and want to help her. Bring her here to the store at 8:30 as clothes and shoes will be first, then over to Betty's cut and curl. We will talk more about it then. I should have the names of the therapist and doctor that my niece used, and you are in luck, in town. She got a pizza from the freezer and put it into the oven and set a timer for 30 minutes. 15 minutes as the smell of pizza was in the air, she called out, "Julie, come to the kitchen." To her surprise, she came right to the kitchen. "Pizza, I know it smelled so good, I was waiting for you to call." She sat down at the table. Louise informed her daughter. "I know a lot more than earlier," Mrs. Edwards knows had to tell her. "It really is okay, she wants to help you. Her nephew is now her niece. Now, I feel so bad that I stole from her. She knows and wants to help," Julie went on. "Okay, there is more. What is the catch?" "Okay, it would be best if you started to live as a girl, before you see the doctors, so you will be working at the store as Julie. Still need to figure out something about school." "Mom, I finished the textbooks last month, did all the tests in the books and have just been waiting for the rest of the class to catch up. I am sure I could pass all the final exams, right now." Louise was impressed. That could work, would be better for all. "About George, we are calling it quits. We both just want it over. He will be coming by Sunday afternoon, and you should not see him as Julie, unless you want to, kind of let it slip out." "Just what slipped out?" Julie inquired. "If you have to know, he said I sounded too happy about ending it with him. So, I threw it back to him. He is not your son, she is my daughter," she replied. "Go put on a pair of shorts and a tank top. I really need to take a good look at your body." Julie went to change into the outfit, thinking he is not my father, did not want to stay. If I look good enough as a girl, might give him the shock of his life. Returning to the kitchen. "Okay, now what?" Louise stood taking Julie's arms and lifting them, then had her turn. "Not too much hair, however, it is dark, needs to go. I'll run you a bath." Julie heard mother as the bath must have been ready. "Be right there, Mom. Smells like flowers, right girl bath this time. Shave the armpits and legs," she ordered, adding, "Try not to cut yourself." Soaking in the tub, Julie thought about the inner feelings and how mother had come on board and was even helping her. After she finished shaving her legs and underarms, she thought might as well wash my hair, but the shampoo was gone. It had been replaced by a brand that was for girls. Silly, I am a girl, well not really, trying to be, want to be. Everything would change and a new way to live life as a girl was her future. Living life as a boy was over, but still one. Her hair had the aroma of strawberries which made her feel that she would come to like being a girl. with her hair wrapped up like she had seen her mother do and a towel covering her chest as if she had breasts. The fog lifted, and she saw a girl in the mirror, smiled until she realized no clothes for a girl. Thankful that it was warm in the house, she went to the kitchen where Mother was. I have not got girl clothes, don't want to wear boy clothes. I want to be a pretty girl, not a tomboy. Louise thought that was so cute, my daughter's first fit over having no clothes to wear. It will be taken care of in the morning. For now I have something for you to wear. She got one of her nightshirts. It would be quite long on her new daughter. She had hoped for a daughter. However, a healthy baby boy was still a blessing. Now she could have the girl that she wanted. Girls can be such fun, as she was once a girl and knew what a girl would need. She helped her daughter and slipped it over her head after removing the towel that had been wrapped just like she did. She also removed the towel that was around her little girl, well, not quite, but soon enough. Now go to bed, hugging her new girl. We both have busy days, in the morning. Then, I am going to be Julie from now on. She went to bed the happiest she had been. She did not care that George had left. She had the best mother in the world. Julie's first day's sleep still had a hold over Julie's brain. Wake up, get ready for your first day. Then it started to come back, the dare and getting caught, the punishment. A girl, that's what I said, and Mother accepted me as her daughter. She remembered that she would be getting new clothes to wear, girl clothes, when she got to the store where she stole the nail polish that opened the door to a future that was before just a dream. Did not really matter what she chose to wear, it would be the last time for boy clothes. Jeans and a t-shirt and boy underwear, hopefully the last pair. The socks and tennis shoes were plain white and may get reused. All Julie knew: stop at the store for a dress and shoes, probably girls' undergarments, then to cut and curl, no telling what would happen over there. However, women and girls go there to look better, at least that's all she knew about what went on at a beauty salon. She went to the kitchen. This should be okay, as I will not be in these clothes long. Mother agreed. New clothes and shoes, don't really know what Mrs. Edwards has in mind, she only wants to help you. Be sure to thank her. Hot or cold breakfast? Not too hungry, toast and orange juice, please. You should eat more, but I understand. This is all going to be a new experience for you. Relax, have fun. Julie thought, fun, right? Oh no. There could be girls from school, they might recognize me. And sure, Mrs. Edwards knows, and she is not going to just put you in a dress. More goes into getting dressed than you know. Relax and have fun, right? It was all she could do to eat the toast and drink the orange juice. Then it was off to the store and start of her first day as a girl. Mrs. Edwards opened the door, let them in and quickly locked it. Not time to open. First stop, the girls' department, as you will need everything from skin out. Go to the changing room. No, not that one, girls use the girls' changing room. Later when you have to use the restroom, which one? Julie knew this. The woman's or ladies'? I forgot for a moment, I'll do better. Now take off your clothes, leave the underwear on for now till I measure you and get your size. Mrs. Edwards smiled as she spoke to Mrs. Dobson. Julie will be okay, first day jitters. Being in a dress will work wonders for her. Julie spoke up. Kind of cold, more clothes. With tape measure, Mrs. Edwards talking out loud as she took down the measurements, bust or chest, as no bust yet waist and hips. Too large for the girls, junior miss. Small for the most part, size 4 in a dress or skirt. She dashed from one area of the junior miss and got everything for Julie's installment of clothing for a girl of her age and size. Handing the clothes and undergarments to Julie's mother, saying, she might feel better if you helped her dress. Mrs. Dobson grabbed Julie's hand. It was indeed shaking, then again it could be from the cold. Time to get dressed. She lowered her voice, speaking softly. Young lady, what did I tell you about giving thanks? Julie turned to Mrs. Edwards. Thank you for everything that you have done for me. Adding, I will do my best for you, although never had a job before. Thank you, Julie. Come to the shoe department after you are dressed. Mother was busy opening a package of panties, tossing a pair to Julie. Put these on. Next came white tights, a double-padded AAA training bra size 32, a white slip, a white blouse with ruffles in the front and buttons in the back, then a tartan skirt down to the knees. The new Julie was quickly taking shape. Okay, over to the shoe department. Exiting the changing room, Julie saw the young teenager in the mirror. She was smiling at her. Look, Mother, I am the girl in the mirror. At the shoe department, Mrs. Edwards measured Julie's feet and informed her. You are a size 6. Julie's eyes were wide in disbelief. Mom, I thought I wore size 4. Mother laughed. Sizes for girls are 2 sizes larger than boys' shoes. Sit in the chair and I will help you into these Mary Jane shoes. Mrs. Edwards put the shoes on Julie's feet, buckling them. Stand and walk. Julie stood, noticing that these shoes had a heel, only 1.5 inches, but more than tennis shoes, and was just a bit wobbly. Mother was quick, grabbing her daughter's arm to steady her. Easy now, stand feet together, take your right foot and swing it slightly out, then back in line to just in front of the left. Okay, now the left, not such a big step, smaller, better. Keep practicing to the aisle and turn by pivoting on the ball of one foot as you lift the other. Good, now back. Turning to Mrs. Edwards. She is ready to walk across the street. Julie stopped in her tracks. Outside. Panic in her voice. Across the street, someone could see me. If they knew my face, they would know. Mrs. Edwards knew that a reassuring tone was needed. The shop is opening early just for you, and nobody is on the street yet. So, you need to be quick. After hair and a little makeup, you will be just a teenage girl. That is if you hurry. It worked, as Julie quickly walked across the street as if she had been wearing Mary Janes for years, just as any girl would. She got to the door, followed by Mother and Mrs. Edwards, and the owner opened the door. You must be Julie, come in. After letting Mother and Mrs. Edwards in, she locked the door. What are you wanting for Julie? Betty, the owner, inquired. Mother spoke. Trim the split ends, bangs and layers, leave it long. She looked at Mrs. Edwards for some help if she had forgotten something, and noticed that she was pointing at her earrings. And a starter set for her ears. Betty inquired. The style now is 2 in each, but 1 is okay. She looked at the women and noticed that they were unsure. Looking at Julie. 1 or 2 pairs? Most of the other girls get 2. All Julie could do was hold up 2 fingers. Betty was quick. The hair was washed, trimmed and cut into the style, and dried with a blow dryer. Grabbing the gun that did the ear piercing, she noticed the look on Julie's face, laughed. Relax, it is what we use for the ear piercing. Julie let out the breath that had been stopped and held. Sorry, it does look like a gun. Then she laughed at how silly that must have been. Then again, any girl on her first trip to the beauty shop might not know either. Mrs. Edwards handed Betty a bag that had the first makeup that Julie would be wearing. Here is the brow pencil, eyeliner for under the eyes, mascara, blusher for the cheeks, and a frosted pink lipstick as the red to match your pretty nails is too much for my store, more like the color worn for a date. Julie was fine until she heard date. She fainted. Good thing she was sitting down. Mother saw and came over to her daughter. Julie, are you okay? Julie wondered at first why her mother was asking, then remembered. Must have fainted when she said date. Mother looked her girl in the eyes. No need to worry, new school and prom will be in 3 years. Julie was shocked that her mother would say that, then realized she was going to be a girl and boys liked girls, well, most boys anyway. Yes, years away. Betty had her makeup for work done and the new teenage girl saw herself on the way out and froze. Jeffrey was indeed gone, as the only reflection was that of a teenage girl. She hugged her mother. "I'm a pretty girl, thank you," Mrs. Edwards admitted. "I forgot a purse for our new girl. Your makeup is in this bag. I have the information for you. I did find it at home. Louise, we can talk after I show Julie how to run the cash register." The two women with teenager in tow crossed the street to start Julie's first day of not only her punishment but would also be working as a girl. Mrs. Edwards unlocked the door, and they entered the store going to the cash register. Julie was shown how to ring up the sale, then opened the drawer, take cash, give change, and reminded to always put the bill or bill on the ledge above the cash drawer or people will try to get more back. Say I gave you a 20 when it was a 10. If the drawer comes up short, then it will come out of your pay. I will bring out the cash for the drawer and we count it together. Julie was not worried so much about the cash, however, boys and girls that she would be ringing up knew Jeffrey. Mrs. Edwards came back, and the drawer had $50 in bills and change to start the day, as sometimes the point-of-sale keypad was used. "I will let you know what else you do. Throughout the day pay attention, as I do not like to repeat myself." Julie replied, "Yes, I understand, Mrs. Edwards. You can call me Nancy when no one is around. I am going to open the store, then your mother and I have a lot to talk about, and you are right, mostly about your future, but you are at work. She can tell you later." She opened the store and went to her office to talk to Louise. "I told Julie that she could call me Nancy, so should you. Here are the names of the doctors Julie will need to see. You and George are splitting, smooth parting or rough the hard way?" "Very smooth. We both agreed to real simple terms and 50-50 split after the house is sold. Never liked it anyway." "Thought about where you are going to move? Julie does need to be at a new school for next year." "What about the rest of this one?" "No, have not planned that far ahead. Julie can pass all the end-of-term tests now, the girl is smart." After I explained the need to take the test after school for her safety, I am sure no problem. My husband had talked me into acquiring some rental property. I do have 3 houses in a different school district, and one is available, not quite. The prior tenants left it in a mess, so here is a deal for you, help clean the house and you can start to move in. My home is 2 blocks away and Julie can ride to work with me, which is good for everybody. $500 a month, 2 bedrooms, bath and a half. Unfurnished, you do have appliances. Wow, I do have a stove and refrigerator for the kitchen and washer and dryer. What about the utilities? You pay them, don't worry about the deposit on the house, and if you have been paying those bills then, you should be able to transfer to the new place. Do you have a lawyer? Why? Jeffrey is not a good name for a girl, legal change of name. I forgot about that. Do you know? Yes, here is his card. Then, just one more thing, Julie needs more clothes. It was so cute. She came into the kitchen, a towel around her chest, and one wrapped around her hair, saying, I have nothing to wear, don't want to wear boy clothes. I'm not a tomboy. I laughed and gave her a hug and put her into a nightshirt of mine. Nancy wondered. Better see how Julie is doing. You know Julie's size. Pick her out 3 more skirts and 6 blouses that could be mixed and matched, and a nice dress for church. May want to change churches. Louise went to get the clothes for Julie. Nancy went to Julie, and she was just in time. Julie was frozen with a look of terror and was pointing at the boy that had entered the store and was walking toward Julie. What's wrong with you? Julie spoke with a note of terror. He knows who I am, or was. Trying to back away from the register and away from the approaching boy. It is okay, he works here as a stock boy after school and on the weekends. She looked at the boy, then at Julie, saying, Eddie, this is Julie Louise Dobson. It took courage for her to admit to her mother, and she works here now as a girl. Julie, you know Eddie Roberts, well, he has a secret different from your secret. He knows yours, you should know his. He does not like girls, ask him about it later. Now both of you get to work. Julie had quite a puzzled look as she took her spot at the register. Eddie has a secret, and it is about not liking girls. That could mean no way. Julie thought later, right. So now if I get this right, he likes boys, and under this dress I'm still a boy, so does that mean he wants me like this? I'm so confused. I just have to ask him later. Like she said, he has a secret. Maybe that's something that's going to work out for me. Well, I'll never know until I ask him, so maybe I'll see if he wants to have lunch. At least I'll find out what is his secret. I mean, he does have to get along with me. We work together well. I guess I'll just have to wait till lunchtime. With the rest of the morning going by in a blur, and it was lunchtime. Well, I'll find out now. Julie got up her courage and went up to Eddie. I know we really didn't get along in school, and I know I'm different now, but I was hoping we might have lunch and get better acquainted, because I'm not going anywhere, and you've been working here, and it just seems like we have to get along. So do you want to have lunch? An alliance. Eddie was sure that the girl in the dress was the boy from school, believe his name was Jeffrey. However, Mrs. Edwards said her name was now Julie. Well, that is one hell of a secret, and so maybe this going to lunch would be a good thing. He was still not sure, however he accepted. Sure, lunch seems like a good idea. Did you bring lunch? Or will we need to get takeout? There's a picnic table around back. Julie was amazed that Eddie had accepted the lunch offer. This is my first day. I didn't even think about lunch, so to go will have to do. If you like Chinese, they have a cheap lunch menu across the street. Eddie thought about that. Chinese did sound good. Sure, Chinese sounds good. Meet you out front. Julie's plan for lunch was never more than an idea. She would have to ask Mrs. Edwards for some money for lunch. The door to Mrs. Edwards' office was open. She knocked on the door jamb. Mrs. Edwards, I thought that it would be a good idea to get to know Eddie better. We would have to work together. So, I asked him to lunch. I didn't know he'd accept, and now I have a problem. I don't have the money for lunch. Could I get just enough for some Chinese food, please? Mrs. Edwards was smiling. I agree, Julie, that was a good idea, so I'll loan you $10. She reached into her billfold and gave Julie the $10. After thanking Mrs. Edwards for the lunch money, she met Eddie out front. They crossed the street to the Golden Walk. Their food was pretty good, and lunch was very cheap. She got the beef and broccoli lunch combo, fried rice and egg roll, and Eddie got the sweet and sour pork same deal, fried rice and egg roll. She got a Diet Coke and Eddie had a Coke. They took their food and drinks to the picnic table, sat down, and started to eat. Julie could not believe how hungry she was. Then again, only had juice and toast this morning. However, she knew she had to eat slower. Only boys inhale their food so fast. The proof to this is she still had half her food left when Eddie was finished. Eddie could still hardly believe there's this girl in front of him across the picnic table, and underneath her skirt she was still a boy. He stated, "You're right, I do know who you were, and Mrs. Edwards was right. I don't like girls, I like boys, older boys, so you're safe." Julie took a moment to take a sip of her drink. "I know your secret and you know mine. Who else knows about your secret?" "Well, the boy I was with, Mrs. Edwards. He was a senior and has left for an out-of-state college, and he had been the only one." "No boyfriend now? Do you have a boyfriend?" Julie was shocked at how direct Eddie was. However, he had been forthcoming. "No, I don't. Maybe someday, definitely that would not be a good idea. No boobs, and my plumbing is wrong." They both laughed at that. Eddie had a brainstorm. If Julie thought it was good, then both their secrets would be safe. My parents don't know that I am gay. I would like to keep it that way. However, Mother keeps asking me what girl I will ask to the prom. You can be of great help, and it will also be of a benefit to you as to others. It would look like you have a boyfriend. Julie saw what he was talking about. That could work. Make a big deal, sort of, just so others would know. Act like any other couple and go out on dates. I've got it. When my mom gets here to pick me up, you can ask her if it would be all right if I went with you to your prom. You can tell her I would if she would let me. With the plan in place, they went back to work. Mrs. Edwards came by to check on Julie. Any problems? Eddie and I decided that we could be friends and help each other keep our secrets safe, replied Julie. When my mother comes to pick me up, Eddie is going to ask if it would be all right if I went to the prom with him. So, if you could explain to her that I will be very safe with Eddie, and as far as anyone else knows, we are a new couple, win-win. Both our secrets will be safe. Somehow, she knew that the two of them would realize that they could help each other. Eddie is a nicer boy here than you knew at school. He had to act like the other boys around you, probably felt bad about that, but he was hiding his secret. At first, I was so worried that he was going to do something to me. He just kept coming towards me. I think we are going to be good friends. That is good. However, he will be going to college after next summer. What will you do then? I don't know, was the only answer she had. Julie worked the rest of the afternoon until her mother came at 10 minutes till 6. Mom, this is Eddie Roberts. He will be a senior next year at school. And Eddie, you ask my mother. He was very nervous. Mrs. Dobson, I know it is very early, but I do not want to wait as your daughter may be asked by another guy from school. I would like to take her to my prom. She would only go if you said it was okay. Mrs. Edwards had made it just in time. Louise, I need to see you in my office, now please. Louise was about to ask Julie if she had lost her mind, but put that on hold, arriving at the office saying, has Julie lost her mind, almost a year away, a boy and the prom. Mrs. Edwards was laughing. Julie is quite safe with Eddie. He likes older boys, and Julie knows that if everyone thought that the two of them were dating and going to his prom, both secrets would be safe. They came up with that together. Good plan. However, when he leaves for college, at least she is safe for now. That girl did this just to see what I would do, almost lost it, okay, was shocked at first, smiled laughing. She returned to see her daughter and Eddie grinning. Okay, had your fun, and it is a good plan to keep your secrets safe. Fine, you can date and go to the prom with Eddie. Mrs. Edwards came up to change the cash drawer for the one she would be using for the last 2 hours. Eddie, let me know if we get a customer, after I get the drop money from the safe, Julie, and I need to count her drawer and drops. She and Julie went to her office and counted the money, and it was right. She put the money in spare drawer into the office safe and went to relieve Eddie. Louise, Julie did very good for her first day. We open at 1 on Sunday after church. How bad was that house? Louise answered, 6 bags of trash so far, and the rugs will need to be cleaned. Mrs. Edwards was quick to address the needs. Eddie, after church come by my house and get the pickup truck. I'll give you the money to rent a rug shampooer and tell you where to take it. Julie, your mother could use your help at the new house you will be living at. You don't have to come into work. As they were on the way to the car, Julie really wanted to ask her mother about this new house, and Mother quickly replied, you'll see it tomorrow, but first we have to go home, and you have to bag up all your old boy clothes because you have plenty of new girl clothes to wear. When they arrived at home, Julie wasted no time gathering up her old boy clothes and putting them into trash bags to take to the Goodwill. She also noticed some packing boxes. What are we packing? For tonight, mostly a lot of kitchenware, all but a serving for two we will box up getting ready to move. After we clean the new house, we can start moving some of our stuff over to it, Mother answered. Julie requested, I'd rather not be here when George comes. Where are we going to church? Because we can't go to our old church, some of the old Bible thumpers would swear. I was going to hell and I don't need that. God knew me before I was born, and He let me be born. So, if He approves of me, why should I listen to them? They're not really speaking for God, just the way they interpret the Bible. Wasn't one of His greatest commands to love one another? Makes you wonder. Everything's fine as long as you're like them, and if not, they'd like you to go to a different church. Yes, that's real Christian fellowship, but what do I know? I'm just a kid. Louise was amazed at the little speech. There was some hypocrisy, and Julie had noticed. We can try the church that Mrs. Edwards goes to. It is in the same area as the new house. I can drop you there and you can be there when Eddie comes by to drop off the rug shampooer, have him load up the bags of trash. You will find the gloves and cleaners. Start with the half bath. I'll deal with George. After he leaves, I will be over to help you. After an hour of boxing up the kitchenware, Louise called for a break. Julie, take a break. Sit down and tell me about your day. You knew Eddie from school, right? Eddie, he mostly was mean to me when the others were with him, Julie rejoined. The way Mrs. Edwards explained it, he had his secret to protect and may have felt bad about it. The look on your face was priceless. You knew I had fainted at the thought of dating a boy. When I first saw him, I felt fear and he kept coming at me. I knew he knew who I was. Mrs. Edwards calmed me down. I knew I would have to get along with him, so I asked him to lunch. We talked. It was his idea to ask me to the prom. His parents don't know he is gay, and his mother keeps wanting to know the girl's name that he is taking to the prom. Now he can say her name is Julie. I'll need a gown. Louise smiled at that. Relax, you have almost a year to find the right dress for his prom, but you will have to tell him the color so he can get the right corsage. We are almost done with this room. I'll finish up here and you can take a box to your room and see what you want to take with you and want to give away. Julie took a box to her room and started looking for stuff she didn't want to bring with her. She looked around the room in the closet and she found the glove in baseball. Never any good at it, didn't like the game, so it went into the box as well as any other sports type equipment is mainly for a boy's sport, and she never fit in with those games. She had to go back and get another box. She was going to be giving away more stuff. Hey, better someone get use out of this stuff. She knew she wouldn't. She took 2 boxes to the living room near the front door and stacked them next to the 2 garbage bags that were filled with her boy clothes. She went to see her mother. Now I've got 2 bags and 2 boxes that need to go to Goodwill. I'm tired. I'm going to go wash up and maybe take another bath. I like bubble baths. I'll see you in the morning. Good night. Louise turned to look at her daughter. Well, you have had a very busy first day. Good night, dear. Julie went to her room and got a new nightgown. Her own nightgown. Mom must have bought this for me with all the other clothes. I have such a good mother. She took the nightgown and a clean pair of panties to the bathroom and ran her bubble bath. She was getting lost in the aroma that filled the room. She took the clothes she was wearing off, placing them neatly on the counter near the sink to the nightgown and clean panties. She slipped into the tub. She did not feel that dirty. It was just she loved the aroma, the floral bouquet so suggestive of femininity. After all, she was a girl, maybe not quite, but soon. No surgery till 18, however, she could start with the appointments to the 2 doctors, well maybe 3, primary care physician referring to the endocrinologist and a psychiatrist. At least she knows that much from what she heard her mother and Mrs. Edwards talking about. She was not looking forward to Eddie leaving college, out of town, maybe even out of state. What would she do with her safety net gone? As the water in the bath was turning cold, and her fingers had that shriveled look. Out of the bath she dried herself off and put on her panties and nightgown, putting all but her training bra in the dirty clothes basket. She must have really been tired. As soon as her head hit the pillow the next thing, she knew it was morning, and again Mother was in the doorway saying, "Get up, sleepyhead, you need to wear a nice dress to church." Julie awoke. "Yes, I'll be right there." Still fighting the urge to go back to sleep, she went to her closet and chose a very pretty white dress with flowers on it that came down to her knees and that had a high rounded collar, those quarter sleeves. She laid the dress down on her bed and started trying to put on her bra. No luck. Well, if I can't hook it in the back, if I take my arms out of the straps, hook it in front, then spin it around, put my arms back through the straps and position it. Yeah, that would work. It must take a while to get used to having to work with your hands behind your back while you can't see them, just remembering the touch and feel of how to hook a bra. After she put on a pair of white tights, she had a feeling that she was forgetting something. "Mom, could you come here, please?" "What am I missing?" Mother came into her room, looked at what she had picked to wear. Churches are like formal occasions and a slip should be worn. Sometimes you don't with darker colored dresses. You picked a white one. Julie smiled. At least I knew something was off. I had a thought, maybe I should take a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, and tennis shoes with me to church. I don't want this dress to get dirty when I start cleaning. The church Mrs. Edwards went to was quite larger than the small one that Julie and her mother had always gone to before. The people seemed very friendly. Of course there were questions about how long you have lived in the area and of course, what school does your daughter attend? After the service, but pastor thanked them for coming and then invite them to attend next week. Julie turned to see Eddie, and he must be with his parents. Eddie was motioning for Julie to come over. When she got there, Eddie smiled at her. "Mom, Dad, this is Julie Dobson and I have asked her to accompany me to my senior prom." Her mother has given her approval. As Julie is a year older than most sophomores, she is the same age as most juniors that attend a prom and would not be considered too young to accompany a senior. Eddie's dad was first to speak. "It's very nice to meet you, Julie. Was that your mother over there? Tell her to come over, as I am sure both my wife and I would like to meet her." Julie motioned for her mother to join her. "These are Eddie's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Roberts. This is my mother." After all the pleasantries were over, Julie and her mother were invited to have Sunday dinner. However, Julie's mother declined, so instead it was dinner on Saturday. Julie asked Eddie, "How are you getting over to Mrs. Edwards to pick up the pickup truck?" Eddie responded with, "It is only 4 blocks from here. I was going to walk." Julie thought, "Mom, could we give Eddie a ride? That way I could ride with him. I think we need to talk again." Mother agreed. "I do need to get back to the house, as George may try to take something that he should be leaving. It would be much easier to keep it from leaving the house. Been trying to get him to put it back in. Good idea." After Julie's mother had dropped them off at Mrs. Edwards, Eddie got the key from Mrs. Edwards. When they were on the way to get the rug shampooer, Julie was puzzled. Why did they invite my mother and I to dinner? Eddie thought about that. They just want to know more about the first girl that I have introduced to them. My dad is quite pleased that I have shown an interest in girls at last, and Mom thinks you are a nice girl. Julie smiled. Then our plan seems to be working. Something for us to think about how to keep my secret safe after you go to college.